This class has changed the way I think about how stories are passed down. I will show what I truly think happened in Jesus' life, and then compare this to how it was altered in only 50 years after his crucifixion. I will then relate this to stories of my friends and I, and how they have been changed so far this year. For example, I would assume when Jesus actually chose his 12 disciples, it was a gradual process and not a big production in which Jesus told his most faithful followers to be leaders and spread his message. 40 years after Jesus' crucifixion, Mark's Gospel depicted the event in a different way by saying, "And he called on his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits, to cast them out and heal every disease." This passage portrays a planned event in which Jesus gave them special powers. Only 10 years later, Matthew describes the event by saying, "And he called to him the 12, and began to send them out 2 by 2, and gave them authority over unclean spirits. And he went up the mountain and called on him those he desired, and they came to him, and he appointed 12. This mystical interpretation is most likely not what actually occurred, and this was only 50 years after Jesus' time. Historians can only imagine how much the story has changed in the last 2,000 years. Earlier this year, my friends and I got in our first group fight. This event probably went something like this. Rosie misunderstood something Kendall said and rolled her eyes. The end. However, looking back on the situation and overanalyzing everything like girls do, the minor problem turned into Rosie got really mad about something Kendall said. Then Kendall got ticked and forced Emily and Julia on her side. Then, in retaliation, Rosie gathered Lisa, Emily, and Mar on her side, and the blowout lasted another 3 days. Although even this is an exaggeration, it shows how stories get altered in our minds, and the tales we tell do not always accurately reflect real situations. From a single event, each person involved will have a different experience. These separate memories of events collide together in time and present themselves in different ways. What is important is to hear all perspectives and try to decide the truth for ourselves.